Hi and welcome to a watercolor tutorial, and today we're going to be painting this really festive winter themed wreath. So this was a lot of fun and we put a lot of focus here on the bow with the wet on dry technique, and I've also incorporated some wildflowers as well to give it that nice 3D effect and that nice pop for this wreath. So let's have fun with this. This is another mixed media piece and let's get started. Let's go over our supplies. So right here I have my 2 water cups. I have one for warm, one for cool water. I have here my dryer. I got this on Amazon and I'm able to dry my layers very quickly. I have my tapping cloth where I tap excess water on here handy. I also have my Winsor Newton watercolor palette. You'll see all of these colors that I use inside your ebook that's emailed to you. I have right here my bleed proof white. This is my Dr. Martens. I use it all the time. It's a very pigmented white. It's awesome. These are the brushes that I use all the time. I love this particular brush because the bristles are very soft and I can get a very nice pointed tip so I can get lots of detail. So the size I use a lot is size 8, 12, and 4, and this is a silver black velvet brush. I have the Premium Marketing palettes as well. I have the Vintage Pastel, I have the Currents Pastel, and the Shimmering Lights that I will use in my paintings. Today I'm using the Shimmering Lights. I also recommend having masking tape. Any painter's tape from the dollar store works perfectly fine. I like to paint my paintings down. I like when it leaves a border, and it's really nice if you have an extra cardboard sheet handy that you can move your projects around and not be tied down to your desk. You'll also see I'm a messy painter, so this has definitely helped contain some of the mess on my desk. All right, so the first thing that I want to focus on is actually my bow, and I'm going to do a really nice creamy color here. So I'm going to mix in my palette, this sandy greenish color. I'm going to add a little bit of brown. And then I am going to add a hair of black and a ton of water. And a little bit of red. And that's the color I'm going to be using for my bow. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wash of a color and I am going to apply it right here. That is a really pretty sand color. And then wherever I see that it's about to curve, I'm going to stop. I'm going to take another brush and I'm just going to touch my edge right here and blend it out. And whenever I see I'm just kind of dragging paint and it's not really getting fainter, that's when I'm going to get rid of all the water in my brush, tap my napkin again. And you'll see now I have a really nice blend. I'm going to come around here with my little sandy color and repeat exactly what I just did. This is the wet on dry technique where we are applying wet paint onto a dry sheet of paper. And it's a really popular technique. And then I'm going to repeat what I'm doing over here. So we're going to take this painting by sections. I find that especially with bows, that's where you create the most realistic painting. Okay, and then blend, blend, blend. Get rid of harsh lines. Blend, blend, blend. Get rid of harsh lines. Perfect. Okay, and then I'm going to come in and do this part down here. I'm going to add some darkness right at the bottom, and I'm going to repeat the same technique that I just did. And do you see that I'm not outlining? I'm not coming around. I'm trying to have a good flow. And blend, blend, blend. Repeating what I just did under here. I guess I should say over here. I'm gonna have my highlight over here be more so over here. Blend it out. Okay, so I am going to dry the piece that I have right now so I can move on to the other sections. And with this sandy color, I'm going to come in and apply it. And I'm going to leave some white space, which is the paper, to shine through. And I'm just going to scoop up the edges here to get a nice little highlight. And if you cover the complete center, what I just did, you can always just get some water and scoop up like that. Okay, so the other parts under here, this is the under of the bow area. So I'm going to come in with a darker shade. I just added a little bit of gray, and I'm going to really carefully now come in and fill it out. And if you want to, even with this, you can come in and just touch it with a damp brush. And again, just give it a little bit more depth to it as well. It doesn't have to just be a flat color. Or you can do the same technique that we were doing. We were just doing this, the blending. Or you can do the scoop. The scoop's more of the wet on wet technique. Coming in along here now. And while that part right in here is still wet, I'm going to come in with an even darker color and blend that out. I'm even going to do it over here as well. Blending it out. And blend. And then we're going to come in here and do the same thing. I missed a spot in here where I want it to be. So I'll come in here now and let that one dry and do that darker color. I really like how this color's turned out. It's really pretty. Okay, I'm gonna let this one dry a bit. Okay, and come in with that darker shade right in here. Okay, so this would technically be our first layer, and again, to get a little bit more depth and love, you want to come in and add another layer on top, especially because I went really light and I can still see some of my ink marks. I want to come in now and just add more depth and more love. So I'm repeating what I'm doing right here, especially with some darker tones. And this will give it a lot more depth and love while it's wet. I'm tapping in a darker color. You can even get a damp brush and just help smooth it out a little bit. And I'm gonna dry this. adding second layers to your watercolor pieces will definitely help make this look and feel more realistic. Come in and blend even this out a little bit. Sometimes even with my bows, I'll come in and add 3 layers. I'm going to come in and tap and add a little bit more of a shadow on this side towards my middle. I'm going to add some creases. And I can come in on one side and blend this out so it just doesn't look so harsh. And that will give it a really nice effect as well. Oh, I love how that looks. That turned out so well. So I'm going to come in and repeat what I just did right here, basically on all parts of my bow. So I'm adding that second layer. I can blend it out a hair. I'm going to come on this side, add more love. Blend, blend, blend. I'll add a little bit of darkness to the corner. I'll dry it. And then I will put more depth and add a little bit of crease. I can come in, blend, blend, blend. So my lines aren't quite as harsh. I'm also going to come in right in here to this little corner and give this extra love as well. Okay. I'm going to blend this out. Try it. I just added a third layer here. So it's important when you are doing your layers that you're letting your first, your second, even your third layer have each of your layers shine through. Like you can see here, this is my first. I just added my second. Even with my third, you can still see 1, 2, 3 layers. So you don't want to completely cover it. Otherwise, you just kind of lose your depth and you just make it more vibrant, which again, isn't a bad thing if that's your goal. But at least where I'm at in my painting, I don't really necessarily care about my vibrancy. I just want to make sure that my painting has depth. So I'm going to blend out this part right here. colors in here. Blending out any harsh lines by just touching the edges and repeating what we just did on the other side. Okay, I'm pretty happy with how this bow looks. So I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna add my wreath now. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start mixing up my colors that I wanna use. So I'm using my sap green. I'm gonna use my hooker's green. I'm gonna use a bit of gray. And I'm gonna use a bit of indigo as well. And I'm gonna start with my leaves over here. I'm gonna try to do more of like a eucalyptus style. So I'm just doing some really loose oval shapes. And you'll see I've gone really light. I'm not going super dark. And I'm going to try to stay around my bow area. Trying to have some nice brush strokes. Sorry. Okay, and then I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to do a couple little ones over here. And then I'm going to have a nice cream color with a little bit of gray. And I'm going to add some eucalyptus this way by having a bit of cream. Coming from my wreath. And I think this will complement the color of bow that I have. And I'm just going to touch with a gray color towards the stem area. With a darker color while it's still wet. Give that a nice contrast in there. I'm going to fill out the branches before I go any further. For this one, I'm using the very tip of my brush. There's not enough contrast there. add more of a hooker's green, a little bit more black and moody vibe here. And then I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna add some pine shapes. And you'll see it'll just start to fill out, and then you'll know, oh, I want to add something over here. I want to add more depth over here. This is just kind of the tricky part, is just figuring out where you want to place everything and how you want the flow of your piece to go. You can even come in and just add some of these really moody leaves. It's more of like a, not an oval eucalyptus, more of like a tier shape, kind of overlapping over some. Adding different tones of green as well will definitely help. I feel like I have to do another one of these leaves, but coming from this way to fill out this little awkward gap that I have right here. Adding more hooker's green. Okay, so now I want to come in and I want to add more like of a wash color, and I'm going to add little stems. So at the top I'm just doing like little blots, and then I'm creating stems. So little blots, and then I'm creating stems. So these are going to be really light and airy. I don't want these to be too dark. I can go in and just touch different points to just kind of make them stand out. So they're kind of like little stems with some rough circular parts coming from them. So creating some stems with some circular parts at the top. And again, this color will just complement the color of our bow. And it also just kind of helps fill out any awkward spacing that we may have here on our wreath. So now I can come in with some second layers. So just mixing up some darker tones here in my palette. And I can come in and touch around, making sure I'm letting that first layer shine through, but definitely coming in and just adding more love to some of these leaves that I have already down. And this will just give our piece of artwork a little bit more of a visual appeal to it. I can even come in with like a really light wash and just add little leaf shapes as well, even coming out towards the middle. And using a wash of colors, it makes it appear like there's cut like things in the distance. So this definitely does help with more of the filler that we have going on here. Now, if you want to, we can definitely add a pop of color, or we can just kind of leave it how it is if you want to add some berries, so you can have more of like a red element to it. I'm not gonna lie, I am a little afraid that I'll do that and hate it. So I'm gonna debate that in my head, but definitely you can add some nice berries to this. I'm just going in with some dark shades, trying to give a little bit more of a visual effect in here. Overlapping some stuff. Okay, I decided I don't want to add any red. I don't want to ruin it. But what I do want to do is I want to add a little bit of glitter and shimmer. So I have right here my shimmering lights. It is so beautiful. It sparkles really, really nice when it dries. So I'm going to mix some shimmers, trying to find a really nice color that I like. All right, let's add some sparkle here. So I'm coming in. And I'm basically going to be shadowing with the shimmer color. I'm not going to be covering the whole painting, but I am going to add this color throughout different spots to give my piece a nice sparkle. Okay. I do want to add a little bit extra love to some of these cream. You know what I do want to do? I actually want to add some more of these coming more inwards. I really do think it adds an extra element onto the painting. So I just added a few more. I'm going to touch the middles. And I actually love that little dark pop. So I'm going to add this gray color a little bit more. Yeah, that looks really good. I actually really like the little pops of darkness. So as I'm just finishing up my last details, we're going to apply some pressed wildflowers, and I actually reached out to a friend who recorded a video, and she's going to walk us through how to attach pressed wildflowers onto a painting. So I hope you all enjoyed this painting portion, and I can't wait to see you in another video.
Hi, I'm Lauren from Fairy Girls Flower Farm, and today I'm going to explain to you how to add pressed flowers to watercolor. So first of all, you're going to need your painting, and then you're going to need some glue. So this is the type of glue that I've been using recently, just something I have on hand, but there are lots of different craft glues that will work for this. You'll need a little dish for your glue just to make your glue nice and accessible, and then you'll need something fine tip like a toothpick to transfer your glue. And then finally, you'll need your pressed flowers. So I've got a drawer here full of pressed flowers. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna put your painting in front of you, and then you're gonna arrange your flowers around the painting until you find an orientation that looks nice to you. Once you've done that, you're gonna one by one remove a flower from its position and replace it with a little dab of glue. Put the flower back onto the glue, press down gently, and then you'll wanna do that to each of your flowers until they're all glued to the paper. Once it's dry, you'll have a beautiful pressed flower watercolor painting.